Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, belated as it may be, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 335. I am your host, Loren Gray, welcoming in the new year. As all of us are firsthand realizing, this year, as being new as it is, still has some existing issues that are transferring over from 2021, over from 2020. And it is, of course, a concern of what we do from our industry perspective for first quarter, January in particular. As I mentioned in last show last year, boy, I haven't talked to you guys since last year. Old joke never goes away. Is a brighter and bigger outlook. Our topic today is 2022, not the same old, same old. And I'm not saying I struggled with conversation in the context of today. We're actually going to be, I'll be brief today. We always keep it within an hour. It might be a little shorter than that today for a variety of reasons, but I wanted to talk a little bit about impact and perspective so that logistics makes sense. We oftentimes get caught up in the logistics of things, how to do things. That's the purpose of the show, is to really answer to some of the questions of what can I do for marketing, for hospitality? How can I effectively make good decisions based on the current circumstances of what those decisions are based on? So let's kind of break it down from a core perspective into a reaction or an action perspective. I don't want to say reaction, but an action perspective, proactive or not. And that is where we are right now. We're going through Omicron. Omicron, for not being a doctor, just we know it's impacting our society. From that, it's impacting people's travels decisions and the need for travel and our ability to provide service, both logistically from an internal teamwork perspective and also from a business perspective, people needing our products. Okay, duh, Captain Obvious. We look at it from how we can respond. We've talked about dynamic budgeting. We've talked about dynamic marketing. We've talked about the ups and downs of channel distribution based on usage and communication and so forth. I want to talk about the human aspect of what we do. We have been bemoaning, I included, have been bemoaning the impact on our industry, not just from the pandemic's perspective, but our industry's slow to change mentality of how we deal with our teams, how we respond to our people that come to us at our hotels and our restaurants. And I want to get down to a core element of something. And that is the essence of our industry. Our industry is based on service, whether it be food, whether it be hotels, whether it be golf or spa or anything. It's the providing of service. Because of that, the mentality shift isn't what I can do for myself. It's what I can do for someone else. Why I bring that up, I catch myself, all of us, we talk about mental health. We talk about the stability of mental health. And that is a very valuable conversation to have. But it's also a mental acuity as to the perspective that you have. Let me give you a case in point. My wife says I should get royalties from the insurance company that does the commercials about not teaching people not to be like their parents. Because she's like, dude, you do that at the grocery store. Or you know what, you do that at the airport. Or you know what, you do that at the knick-knack shop or whatever. You know, the all the jokes about that, she thinks I should get royalties because they probably patterned all of those things off of my experience of how I handle things, kind of thing. So I'm a gregarious person, and I've often laughed at the fact that people will come up to me and talk to me because apparently you exude that, like, hey, I'll talk to anybody, and I will. Unfortunately, with all that this drawing out of the pandemic has been for all of us, there is a change in that perspective. I'm less gregarious. I for the longest time before we had the vaccines, you begin to get closer. I mean, I'm walking outside with a mask on, and we didn't have the vaccines or anything like this, and somebody's coming down the sidewalk with me. I'm like, okay, I would love to say hi, but I don't want to create some engagement. I don't know this person. I have no idea what's going on. And even after the vaccinations, whether they're vaccinated or not, whether I don't know. So the whole persona, the dynamic of engagement had changed for me. Driving down the road, I would get frustrated that somebody just changed on the lane in front of me. They didn't cut me off or anything, but they changed on the lane in front of me. And my normal reaction prior to COVID would have been like, I wouldn't even ever react. I wouldn't even thought about it. I was like, okay, normal traffic. For some reason, I get edgy about this now. It's like, wait, hey, what you getting in front of me for? This lane. It's a weird reaction. It's unfounded on anything other than what the pandemic has created in a change of persona for me. We now involve ourselves with risk and reward on engagement with people, even our friends. It's like we're words like, well, I want to be with you, but Now there's this this protocol of, do I know you've been vaccinated? Have you ever know you've been safe? Have you been sick recently? Do you look sick now? These things we didn't have in our society engagement prior to COVID. And because of that, we've become very centric to ourselves. Self-preservation is, in Maslow's hierarchy, is before anything else. So because of that, our industry has been very much a reflection of that. Our tolerance of people, our patience with people. People are acting out their angers and frustrations. We see this in the news all the time. Crime, vandalism, people's way they handle themselves on an airplane. When did that come up, right? These things are representations of the frustration and the change in the dynamic of how we interact as a society, people with people in a world of. And so from that, I think of our industry as being very unique in a possible solution. Now, people that know me know that I'm constantly referring to movies because I think movies are a reflection of our society. Movies are created as a reflection of our society, and we equate to them and like movies because of how the messaging or our familiarization with the messaging comes through. So I want to refer to a movie that's way back in time, but a great movie on Gandhi. And it was a biography, albeit a movie biography, of Gandhi's progression through life. And it was at a certain point in the movie where Gandhi was on a fast to protest the violence that had been created in the independence of the country of India and all the people that were attacking each other because of this newfound independence. And a man was brought before him that had created heinous things. I'm not going to get into the details of the movie, but had done some heinous things. And Gandhi looked at him in his strife of hunger and his willing away, and he says, I have a door out of hell for you. And he began to prescribe to him what he needed to do to create a balance to what he had done. He didn't condone or excuse what he'd done. What the man had done in the movie context was heinous. He didn't absolve him of it or look for it's okay given the circumstance. He didn't do any of that. He just said, for you, you have to balance what you've done. And he gave them a prescription to that. I think our industry has that ability in our society to a certain degree. Our industry, against all others that you look at, the paramount aspect of our industry is service. We tout it in the statement of how heart of the servant and so forth. We get caught up in the logistics of running our industry, operations and acquisitions and finances and investment and all these kind of things. But at the core of what all this is to satisfy within our society the need for travel and interaction and service. I go to a restaurant, I get served. I can make dinner at home, but I go out and choose to get served. I can sleep in my car, or I can stay at a hotel and get served. For those reasons, our industry is centric to this heart of the servant. We, again, talk about this. So we can offer our society, kind of like what I'm referring to this movie, as a kind of a gate out of hell, a door out of hell, that it's the opportunity to show kindness beyond you get paid to be that. Because if anything we have seen in this past year is rude customers, rude service. People are vengeful about their response, I'm not getting service. These people don't care. And yet, they understand. None of us are dumb. Okay. The worst thing that people do in marketing is assume that they're talking down to an audience. There is no down to any audience. Everyone has intelligence. Perspectives change, values change, understanding changes. But think of this. Humanity has a core of self-awareness. We know we exist, and we know that we have impact on what we do for ourselves and then, of course, for others. We have chosen through our current society right now to ignore the impact on others because we're forced to only be centric on ourselves. It's not making an excuse for ourselves. It's just we think of self-preservation. It's become more of a predominant issue for us in our society than it has in times past. And from that, we are less tolerant, less patient, less concerned for our fellow person. And that has bred itself. And so people come into a hotel, and you can definitely see the overworked look in a person's eye, whether they're wearing a mask or not. Oh, by the way, wearing masks, that's a great way for us not to understand the true intent of the person behind it. We have to rely on their eyes. We can't see their face to know whether or not they're smiling, they're grimming, they're making a face, they're sticking the tongue out. We don't know these things. So we've even added to the exacerbated value of not knowing our interaction value with other people, even when we do have it. So here we have a chance to appreciate. We see it in the news, an act of kindness. Our news agencies have actually mandated that for all the nasty, bad news they're sharing with us about these crimes and these issues and these problems, they try to sprinkle in at the very end or wherever a good news story purposely. Like, hey, even though we just told you a bunch of crap, there's a good news thing. And that's what we realize. It's like, there's times we don't want to even watch the news. It's just one thing after another. It's just, it's depressing. I mean, it truly is. But the good news part, we'd like to watch that part. And that's the part we can be as an industry. We can be that beacon of kindness. Now, we're asking our team to do what they too are suffering from, as everybody else is, on being nice to somebody that isn't being nice back. If anything we see out of this, that gets more attention than it is the pleasantry of, oh, I'm nice to you, you're nice to me back. That's what we would hope happens daily. But now, given the current circumstances, when somebody's kind, in spite of not being treated kindly, we notice that going, wow, that person could have been just as mean back, but they weren't. And that stands out. Sadly, but it does. We can be that. We can be the gate out of hell for a lot of things in our society by being those people that say, yes, I know I'm overworked. Yes, I know that everybody's been mean to me, but I'm not going to reflect that back to the next person. We can do that in lots of ways, not just in the personal interaction that's forced by somebody coming up to your front desk or coming into your restaurant or dealing with your team that's in a hallway or whatever, in the hotel or whatever. It also goes to how you as a business are projecting your efforts forward. And the first thing of that is stop guessing what your guest wants. Ask them. We've mentioned this. We've told this. We've exonerated this. We have educated it. We've had shows on this. Start asking questions, listening to your guest. And it's not, and it will include, unfortunately, their complaints, but also in the context of their complaining, you find solution. What is it that really bothers them besides everything, apparently? But, what really is their core issue? And the core issue isn't what they may be upset about. It's maybe just something as simple as what you can do about. Case in point, we've talked about this as an example months ago, literally, I think 3/4 of a year ago. We talked about the frustration that we're seeing as people begin to travel early in the summertime last year, that people are freaking out and throwing trades and busting up the place because the free coffee in the lobby ran out and they came down for free coffee and it wasn't there. And it wasn't the free coffee. It was the stress of getting to the hotel, the stress of the uncertainty as to the safety, health safety, the change in what they had to be aware of, whether normally this is how things done, now they're not being done that way. The housekeeping, the lack of housekeeping, the lack of food offerings, the little box for food instead of the plow it on buffet that they used to have. All those things added up into the tirade of the coffees out in the lobby. And we talked about how you reacted to that was just as important as not reacting to it, of not giving back a reflection of all that anger and angst and evilness and meanness, okay? But to absorb it and reflect it in a kind way of what is it that I can truly do that will make a difference in your attitude? Not just fill the coffee. Maybe that is it, but it's the thing that will be the linchpin that makes all the rest just water away. And that is what our industry can do. People are walking in our door intelligent enough to know that there is not enough staff at our hotels or at our restaurants. They can see it by the lines and the empty tables that they can't see because there's not enough servers to get to them. They can be frustrated for the technology they have to deal with when they used to love talking to a person that came up to their table, like me. As my wife says, though a server does not need to know your name. I'm sorry. I'll still be like, hey, my name's Loren. What's yours? I still do that. Seriously. She thinks she should get royalties from those commercials. It's the idea that you can be personable and empathetic in spite of the aggravation that they give back to you. Because even though you may not see the result of your actions right then and there, like now all of a sudden they melt like butter because you just were nice to them, they still may be a total jerkhead the entire time you interact with them. But at another time, in another place, in another circumstance, that act of kindness that you did may have a more profound impact on their perception in the future than you'll ever know. As we often say, karma is karma. It is one of those things that we as an industry can do. It's we as an industry can create that dynamic that's different for people because we are based in the core element of what we need to get out of hell. We need kindness. We need service. We need the reflection of others before the reflection of ourselves. We are those people, the people that decide they're going to tear down a residential street at 100 miles an hour because they just are frustrated and it's a straight road and they're going to do it. And better be out of my way because I'm running down this road, even though it's 30 miles an hour at 100 miles an hour because I feel like it. And then somebody gets hurt. And you don't see the remorse in them because they're still blinded by their own self-centeredness. It's a shame because people's lives are destroyed by that. So we can help with the idea of what it's like to come out of this hell. We can help with what we do as an industry for people that we interact with. Travel now, let's face it, be candid about this, sucks. Not because of where we don't want to go isn't important, not because who we get to see when we travel isn't important. That's the good parts. It's the getting theirs. And it's not because the plane bounces more than it did or the seats are boards instead of put cushions. It's the stress of all of this. It's the stress of what not knowing happens or does happen because of, or when I get on this plane, I'm going to freak out, want to beat everybody up, or, the rudeness of the attendant because she's so fed up with mean people. The only way she can defend herself is to be walled behind this and say, screw you all, be lucky I'm here. Or the same attitude from a front desk agent or the same attitude from a food service person is be lucky I'm here. And then, of course, the reaction of it is like, you better pay me more or I'll get out of here and you're screwed. The self-entitlement we have has to somehow be broken in a chain. It has to stop somewhere. And that stopping has to be reflected to other people going, wow, I like it when people are nice to me. I don't like people that are dickheads to me all the time. Why am I being that way to everybody else when I don't like it myself? Some people never have that perspective. Some people are all about me, me, me. And it's easy to go over and condemn them for that until you look at their lives and realize they've always been on the downside of things. They've never truly had a equilibrium that made them realize that they can be better than what they are and then instead take what they can get when they can have it. We may never fix all those people. We can't fix all those people. There's no reality to that. But we can influence people. And we can only affect the world that we can affect. The old chaos theory of butterfly wings and so forth. It may be strange, but you as a person can possibly influence somebody in a way that you don't know, in a way that makes a difference for a lot more than what you actually knew you did. That's my stand on the soapbox perspective of why 2022 is not the same old. But there's a pragmatic aspect to this, a logistics aspect to this. The reality of it is if you're looking at HR the way you looked at it last year, you're going to lose. You need to redefine your perspective of engagement of the teams that you need, because think of it as a wellspring down to a river. Water coming out of the water makes a river. HR is the wellspring. If you bring in bad talent or talent that doesn't understand what's being asked of them or the culture that they're joining and they don't fit that culture, not everybody fits. They're good people, but how they do things is different than how you do them as a culture. You're going to have problems because you're literally creating a scenario of failure because you're bringing in somebody that doesn't work within the system you have. Either they adapt to the system because they're capable of it, or they deteriorate the system because they never adapt and they end up leaving the system and causing damage from that process. So HR is critical to the starting of solutions to this. And everybody's like, we need people. Great. Have you ever thought about what it is that you are offering? Are you talking? And it's usually quite like, well, I offer, this much per hour, or I offer this kind of compensation. We're watching in the news persistently the additional costs of stuff. And I'm not going to get into the economics of it. It's like, but basically, when you print money, the value of that is only good based on the warranty of what people think it's worth. Hence the reason why we have cryptocurrencies and so forth, and people are going back and forth and shooting a whole thing on that one. So The idea that you're offering what you think is the reason for them doing this and not getting the results means definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over expecting a different result. You're doing that and you're not getting the result you want, yet you keep doing that. You need to change what you're doing to get the resources of people that you want. One of my dear friends with me that works with me, he has his own company, and he put out, because he's at the position now that he needs more people, he put a wonderful page document. This is Tim at Phrasing, page document of what he wants and what in a person by way of telling you what he's offering. Seriously, it wasn't anything about what he was looking for. He talked about what he needs in the context of what he has to offer. But everything about that page was truly about what he offered. The environment, the culture, it wasn't a dollar amount. People go say, well, I'm not going to tell people I'm paying per hour because my competition is going to know. Really? And that's causing you a problem. As if the person that's looking for a job doesn't already know the difference between what your competition is offering and what you're offering. And if you're worried about your competition and saying, well, if they're offering $16 an hour, I offer $16.50. If the motivation of payment isn't the motivation for them to getting hired, what difference is it to you if your competition is offering more money per hour than you? Obviously, what that is not what people are looking for. They're looking for the difference for themselves. Of course, some people are like, oh, great, I'll go there because I can make 50 cents more an hour. It's a terrible place and it's run down compared to this place. But hey, that extra 50 cents an hour is doing it for me. It might be. Or it might be more convenient to them. There's lots of motivating factors. The idea of it is you don't know. One is to ask people, both on an exit conversation and as a prelude to an interview. So what is it you found interesting about what we offered? Is it proximity to where we live? Is it somebody here? Is it what we're paying? Is it the benefits we're offering? Is it the hours we're offering? Is it the job itself that's not being similar to the way we described it? Find out, which goes to our earlier part of the conversation we had, asking your guests. We're sitting back now, literally like a merchant behind a counter. What brought you here? Oh, you're looking for watches? Oh, I have watches here. Oh, wait a minute. You're looking for shower appliances over here. We don't know what they're looking for. So we have to carry everything, do everything in the hopes we have something that they're wanting. Why not ask them? Hi, what are you looking for? For hotels, that goes to asking the guests, so why are you traveling? What is it what information do you need? The whole COVID crash kit program that we have, which is creating content for people to be aware of what they have to do in traveling should the test be positive, and what do we offer for room rates, and what do we offer for food, and all the things that you don't know about until you need them. Part of that, a lot of that was coming from asking people questions. So we want to get you to our destination, but you're not booking. Can we ask what it is that you would need information on? We found from that their uncertainty of what it would be like to get there was based on what would happen if they got stuck there. So we created content for that. It solved a problem, created business for us. With the uncertainty and the changes that are going on with travel, the changes in protocols of where you're going to, what's required, what should you be doing, what do you need to do if you're stuck there, what do you need to do when you get there? If you can answer to those in context for the reason that they're interested, or ask people what it is the most important that they need to understand, by providing that, you're creating the relationship that creates the business for you. Sitting back and saying, well, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, and doing it traditionally where like, well, what businesses are in our area that we should reach out and see what rooms that those people don't know any better than you do what they need. They don't know if that training group of 15 rooms that was possibly coming in for X date to X date is still going to come in when all of a sudden Omicron flourishes even stronger, either from the source of where these people are coming from or you in your local market that they're going to be coming to. So creating that dialogue of asking questions and listening to the answers, asking your guests what it is that they need to understand better, or concerns that they have, or things that they need to know about, or how you can identify what you have as product realistically to the people that need your product is paramount to your ability to do business, which also leads itself to the whole stand on the soapbox conversation I initially had, which is this is a door out of hell. This is a way of offering what we do as an industry to people that need what it is that we have to offer, but doing so where they don't have to be finding it themselves, searching it themselves. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to find some solstice in making sure that they feel that they've looked at the spectrum of options to know that they're not following just the one choice that they've been exposed to. But being that authoritative, valued, honest, truthful, not offering what you don't have, not precluding what you don't have so that they find out later that your pool was closed, but you didn't mention it, which is a real irritant for some people, or the restaurant's closed, even though you talk about having a restaurant. That's deceit. That's deceitful. Nobody you don't want it. Why would they want it? Why would you be like, well, let's just not mention we're going through renovation right now and apologize to them when they get here, because gosh knows we need anybody to walk in the door. That's not a solution. Not well, we'll irritate them now, but we'll make it up to them in the future. There is no future. They're not going to come back for you to give it back to them. They're going to be like, well, those guys lied through their teeth. They talked about how awesome their hotel was and so forth, and I'm listening to jackhammers. And they didn't tell me about it. When I got here, they gave me some sort of discount and a coupon to go get a free drink at the bar. Like, that's going to compensate for the fact that I'm dealing with jackhammers and whatever. That's not good business. That's not what our business is based on. We did that before COVID. We did it during COVID. We did lots and still do. Look what we did this past summer, 2021. We maximized rate because so people were so willing to pay whatever it took to get out of what they had been doing for the year up to that point, that we said, sure, yeah, we'll take 3 times what we normally would charge, just to, because you're willing to pay it. By the way, restaurants closed, fitness rooms closed, pools not open. Basically, there's nothing that we say we have other than the room that you're getting in. And by the way, housekeeping, yeah, we don't do that anymore. We'll put a stack of sheets at your door. You go do that. But we're going to charge you 3 times more normally than we did when we used to do all that and used to have all that stuff. What did you think was going to happen? Do you think they were going to be like, yes, they understand the world's different. They understand that you don't have staff. You understand that there's this going on. But the indifference that we provided, we didn't do it like, we're so sorry, this is the best we can do, so forth and so on. We did it out unabashedly, like, hey, give me your money. This is all I got. Take it or leave it, or get out of line because there's somebody behind you. We as an industry treated it like that. I know there's exceptions of people that didn't do that. And I know there's exceptions of people that truly exploited it beyond the level I'm talking about. But as a general overview of our industry, we did a lot of that. And for that reason, we need to go back to what we are as an industry. From a marketing perspective, it's sharing content that's helpful. From a marketing perspective, it also means doing surveys that are helpful. Understanding and listening our guests so that we truly know what it is that we can provide as content and service for them. So I do sincerely appreciate you letting me tirade on this idea of what our industry can do for 2022. From a logistics point of view of being where we are right now, first week of January for this, and going through the exacerbation of what Omicron is doing for people getting sick, it's easy to look at the fact, well, people aren't getting that sick. They're still getting sick. And most importantly, they're still getting COVID, which means it only propagates other people getting COVID. I think something here with me in Florida, they're saying that there's a forecast that at least 70 or 80% of us in Florida, let alone countrywide, but I'm sure that's a reflection of others, is going to get COVID. There's a lot of people that can't get sick for their immunity issues and for existing conditions and so forth. So there's tragedy on the threshold for all of that. So being tone deaf to talking about coming down and enjoying and doing this and so forth without responding to the concerns that people have, content that is helpful for them to understand what you're doing in compensation to it. I went through, as all of us had, in the transition of, well, let's get all those videos we did of people wearing masks and keeping distance and wiping elevator buttons down. Let's get that stuff off. Let's stop talking about it. Let's push that into the back again. We want to talk about happy days and back to business and come enjoy it and do the travel with us and so forth. Yes, it was wonderful to think that we could optimistically think like that. The reality of it is we're back into that doldrum of explaining what we do in response to what's happening. Being tone deaf to current circumstances only makes and diminishes our honesty and our credibility with our guests, when just like telling them that the pool's closed, but not telling them, like saying we have a pool, but then surprise, you're here. Guess what? Our pool's closed. So sorry, COVID, not enough people, whatever. That doesn't satisfy the fact that you didn't tell them before they arrived. And the reason why you didn't tell them live, realistically, you didn't want them to cancel the reservation. So if you break that apart from a marketing perspective, what could you do? we did this with a client in particular. We literally, honestly said, it looks like coming up, our local area is going to put a restriction on this. So it looks like there may be some events during this month that are going to get canceled. If you're coming for these events, let's offer you, if you're going to cancel, let's do two things first. First off, you can cancel. Please know that you can. We're not going to hold you to, oh, hey, you bought it, you got it. We're going to let you cancel. But before you cancel it, can we give you the full credit of what you're going to do, okay, towards rebooking within the next 9 days? Let's just throw another date out forward. And if people get back to us, which they did, and say, well, hey, I was really coming for the event. I don't have another immediate area to come there for the next 9 days, so I'm just going to get this. And I said, well, hey, let's do this then. We'll do that, okay? But can we flip it over to being a gift card, and we'll honor the rate you have for the next 6 months and give you the gift card for the value of what you've just bought, okay? So you money in the bank, you have it. And you can get the same rate when you rebook anywhere in the next 6 months. So we save some people with that. Then there's still people like, no, honestly, I just am so uncertain about travel now. I'm still not going to do it. I appreciate the offer, love the gift card, but really, I just want the refund. Okay, and so we did give refunds, but then the last ditch we did for this was like, okay, here's the thing: we'll give you your money in a gift card. We'll give you the rate offering for 6 months, but we'll also boost the gift card's value by 10%. Should you stay with us a whole year from this date? So even though you don't know if you're going to come back, even though if you're not coming back in the 6 months, we're going to guarantee you a rate and extra value if you just get it as a gift card for the next year. Now, we didn't do this as a full of brush Kirby sales, like, well, not this and this and this and this. We made this as a progression of answering. We offered it. Okay, so people saw the full spectrum of the offer. The value were better as you went down the list. People understood that. And we knew that most people were going to take advantage of the bottom one, which was like, I'm going to get a gift card. I'm going to get 10% extra. I'm going to get a rate guarantee, even though I'm going to come a month later. It's okay. It's one of those things like when you offer an offer and you allow the dates to be extended past the date of offering, it's because let's have it as a problem. Let's have it like, oh, well, we really overbooked that program. No, we planned on having overbookage with it. We wanted people to feel like they were getting away with something. The same mentality with this is like, look, we're here. The end result was we were able to not lose that reservation because even though they canceled the reservation, they got a gift card, which means the money is still sitting in our account. So cash flow is still running in lieu of the fact that they're going to stay later. And yes, there is a threshold of return. We don't want everything to be already prepaid in the future because eventually when it comes time for them coming in, they've already paid, but we don't have income at that point. There's a math way of doing this that says we'll have this much available to do that with before it begins to diminish our cash flow in the future tense. Math is a powerful thing when you do these kind of things. So marketing, talking to revenue management, talking to operations ownership, created these variations. What we got, though, from this was a really powerful, positive perspective of us. Not that we're just trying to hang on to the cash. On the contrary, a willingness to preemptively show if these are the considerations that you're coming for, if this is why you're coming on that weekend or coming on for this, there's a chance. If it doesn't happen, great, but we're not going to hide behind oh, no, we think it's going to go fine, no worries. And then when they show up, oh, that got canceled. What you've done is you've irritated a guest because you didn't share with them what you probably already knew. And whether you knew it or not, the perception's still there. Marketing is about communication in as much as it is about providing a product and deriving revenue from it. It's communicating what you want people to know and understand about you. That's why marketing includes your content on your website. That's why marketing includes your messaging. That's why it includes your social content, because it is communicating with an audience that wants to hear what you have to say or be made aware of what it is you have to say that they might be interested in, what is helpful for them to understand why they want to buy and give you money. So hiding behind uncertainty, hiding behind ambiguity is like, hey, it's not my fault. We do that too much. Oh, hey, that's, it's COVID. It's not us. Own it. That's the part I said about getting out of hell. Is we as an industry, being service-based, have the ability to influence people's perception of what a kindness means. Offering our services and being kind gives people a benchmark to say, wow, that person could have been mean to me. Gosh knows they have every reason in the world. Like I would think, I'm overworked. I have not great resources. A bunch of mean people are treating me meanly all day. Why not be that person that just reflects it back to them going, hey, well, you know what? Be lucky I'm doing this for you. But the fact that they didn't creates a value of, I like that place. You know what? I know that they were overworked. I know that they were busting their butts, and the person in front of me was a total dorkhead, and I probably wasn't much better. But the person kept being kind to me. You know what? When I go back, I'm going to go over and go back to them. It's like the surprising, which it shouldn't be, good service you get at a restaurant. The server's going crazy. You know that they're really just huffing, trying to keep up with stuff. They're definitely understaffed. And yet it doesn't reflect on their treating. You felt like when they were talking to you, when they were giving service to you, that you were the focus of their attention. They were pleasant, they're thoughtful, they're considerate, and they're doing the best they can. Whether the food came out as fast as you thought it would, whether the drink got replenished as fast as you wish it would, got diluted away because the person made the difference, and they weren't constantly coming up apologizing. Hi, I'm so sorry. They're just like, okay, guys, ready to go. Yeah. They know, as we said earlier in our discussion today, people are smart. Do never talk down to anybody. Nobody is to be talked down to. Anybody, in any condition, for any reason. Just because you don't share perspective doesn't mean that they're lesser or greater than anything. There's people that are stellar at some things, and you're stellar at your own things. The idea of it is that people are intelligent. They are very self-aware. The problem is that self-awareness, as we talked about earlier in the show today, has been self-centric. We've lost our empathetic relationships. We become self-preserved. Like, what is this in relationship to my preservation? Do I talk to that stranger or willingly talk to that person? Am I putting myself in jeopardy by doing that? I don't want that engagement. We do a lot of, I used to make eye contact with everybody, which is probably why everybody would go over and talk to me, go like, hey, what are you, and ask me weird questions, because I'm making eye contact with everybody. It comes from my hospitality background. As a server, as a hotel person, whatever, I was constantly looking at people because I could tell if they make eye contact with me that there was a dialogue that needed to happen. My wife, like I said, makes jokes that I should get royalties for the insurance ads that, don't be your kids, be your parents. It's because I was that guy. I'd be like, talk to everybody, and where they say, your waiter doesn't need to know your name. I'm that guy. I'm the one that's like, hey, what's your name? My name's Loren. I'm that guy. I'm also the guy that pulls up the light, has my window on. Somebody rolls down the window and asks directions for me. I'm like, it's what we do as an industry. It's how we are. We've stopped doing that. We stopped making eye contact because we don't want the engagement. We stopped eye contact because we're worried about the risk it creates for us. We've stopped the interactions that make us unique in our ability as an industry. That's why I think our industry can be that doorway out of hell for our culture. If we can begin to live up to what our industry is based on as the heart of the servant and the value that we represent, we can influence others unknowingly. Like I said, the butterfly wings and the theory, chaos theory. We don't know how that act of kindness that we did affected that person in ways that we don't know. Like I said, with the news, we have a good piece of news after tons of bad news because we appreciate the uniqueness, which is sad to say, the uniqueness of somebody being kind at a time when they had no reason to be, because we see so many examples of where people had no reason to be. So I'm not trying to cut our conversation short today. Ariel, thank you so much for listening to my conversation diatribe on this. I do appreciate the idea that this is the first show of 2022. Logistically, I have mentioned what I am doing right now for my clients and what I'm doing, that I'm focusing on listening to the variable demands of my guests, asking the questions, creating surveys, creating dialogue, creating means of communication for them to respond and for us to solicit answers of what it is they're looking for, what it is that they need, and how is it that we can answer to both of those. That's how we're approaching our marketing. I'm not trying to second guess. I'm not trying to blast things out. I'm not trying to do incentivizations and blindness to what the realities of we are. I'm being honest, sensitive, and thoughtful about the content that's being created. And most importantly, doing that by listening to the people that need it as a provided service from our clients' products and my own. So I would say that's the strongest way to do, because dynamically, we've talked about dynamic budget creation, dynamic marketing creations. We've shown the math to do this. We've shown how to calculate diminished value returns. We've gone through that whole process in the live shows. So now it's enacting those tools at a time that you need to be listening and responding, and in turn, from that response, reevaluate your methodology of logistics and business operation to accommodate the changes in business sources, value of that business, and means of finding new business. So with that, thank you for your time and listening to this. I hope that you both enjoyed it on the live show, also on all the simulcasts we're doing on the TV channel that we do, Hospitality Channel, which is on Roku, Apple, and Google TV and Amazon Prime TV. You can watch us on TV whenever you like, in addition to all this, and also to our Twitch crowd. Twitch is an amazing channel. We're going to talk more about it in live shows in the next couple of weeks and so forth as to the value proposition of Twitch and channels like that in similar areas and so forth. So I hope you come and jump in for that. We're also finalizing some guest co-hosts. So you don't have to keep listening to me all the time since we've made the change of format to one topic, 1 hour per week. So we'll have other people coming in talking about what they find to be valuable and important. And we might have more talking heads again as they bring in people that they would like to have that conversation with on the show. So lots of fun stuff for this year. Optimistically in all things, please. Don't get caught into the doldrum of the things that cause you angst. Be as positive as you can with that. And more importantly, reflect the positivity with everyone else, not the gumball drop of, oh, and it's all great, and be blind to the realities of things, but instead be that kind source. Be that person that is in hospitality that refers to how can I help, and truly mean it, and be helpful, and listen to the person rather than simply think you have to shove to them what you think you can do for them. Listen to what they may need and determine whether you can help them. So with that, my name is Loren. I thank you for the privilege of your time. And I will do a podcast today recapping this show, along with talking about SMS messaging, which is a great handy tool set. We're going to go through different tools. Ariel, thank you. Yes. And to that, we'll be back again next Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. We'll be simulcasting this show Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Sydney and 11:30 a.m. London time for those that are in different time zones that get to listen to us on recast. And again, thank you all for the privilege of your time. Ariel, thank you for your time spent with me today. And we look forward to talking to everybody next week. Bye, everyone.